What's up, tubers? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight to continue our breakdown series of Lake Travis. That's right, we are on video 2 for Lake Travis. We're going to keep working our way up I guess you would say, the northeastern side of the river channel there. We're going to keep working our way up. We get all the way up into a couple different marinas. We got lots of ditches to look at, rock formations, tons of offshore stuff actually on this lake because we were able to draw the lake down so much. I'm going to quit giving it all away. We need to go jump into it. Let's go. Let's go ahead and jump back into Lake Travis. Now, if you missed the first breakdown, I did break this down on the left-hand side by a couple different items. I just noticed on the video that I did for the first breakdown, though, that my icons were all messed up. So I went ahead and fixed those. So if you do get the KML, don't worry, you'll get the correct KML with the right icons. But I did break it down over here on the left-hand side. Just real quick, for those of you guys that didn't see it, we've got a lot of different channels in this lake. So you can see several different channels to go fish, position your boat, just really be able to really find the fish. I mean, if you can find these creek channels, the creek channels are going to be key to bringing in a lot of oxygen and things like that to the lake. And so therefore, they're a great place to go and try to look for fish. You've also got a lot of different cover areas, just debris, stairs, brush, pipes, all kinds of good stuff like that. Ramps, there's a billion gazillion ramps on this lake. So if you got on a good ramp pattern, I'd imagine you'd have to fine tune that pattern a little bit, kind of combine the ramp with something else. But there are a ton of different ramps on this lake to go look at. So we'll cover those. Lots of different rock formations, transition areas, stuff like that we're going to cover. And then last but not least, just a bunch of little ditches and things like that, little canyons and things like that to take a look at that we really want to point out. So let's go ahead and move this over, and we're going to go back where we were on the last video. And we started at Arrowhead Point. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to move this over. We're also going to go up here and change our imagery here in a second. But first, let's go over to Arrowhead Point, which is right here. Let me tell you what we did. We went down the east side. We went all the way through here, swang, kind of went around there, went up here, up to about right in this area right here. So Arrowhead Point should be right here. So we went over here, we went up in here and pointed all of that. And so today we're going to start at Arrowhead Point. So if you missed the first video, just click on the link up above or go out to our Lake Breakdowns playlist and you can be able to pick up that video so you can kind of follow along with where we're at. So on the dates, this is 9/22 is what I'm showing here. I'm going to take us back to 2015, 2014, somewhere in there. See what image it's going to give me. This one's been a little bit tricky because sometimes it doesn't give me the same image that I want. So I believe may even have to go back to 2012. Here we go. 2015 is looking pretty good, but not very clear. So let's go for 2014. Bam. 10 of 2014 is probably what we're going to roll with. Now, just a couple things here. Let's start off at Arrowhead Point. We pointed out all those pipes and stuff that were there. So let's start here at Arrowhead Point. Again, this is where I'm at. We've moved our way up here. We're going to stay on this bank line and work our way all the way up the lake. And then we'll work our way back down the other side. And then we'll follow this up with going over to Navionics Boating on our web, on the app itself, and pointing out different things that we can find from an offshore standpoint. So should definitely be interesting. Should have lots of stuff to cover for you guys on this one. So let's go ahead and move over here and let's talk about the first thing that we see once we get past Arrowhead Point. And that's when you get off here to this next point. Now you do have a couple ramps and things up here that you could fish around. They don't look too crazy, but it does look like that this is either possibly like a hard spot here, or that could just be really, really dry and it just looks like a hard spot. But it's definitely something you want to check out. Notice how it changes. The land changes there. So there's definitely something there to look at. Now, as we move in back in here, I didn't see anything too spectacular to really point out for you guys in there. It's not to say those aren't very good fishing spots. It's just to say there wasn't anything from Google Earth standpoint that I could really point out for you guys. Now, as we move further up this island, we get up here. There's a little marina that's up here. You definitely want to fish around the marinas for sure. There's a nice little boat ramp that's over here as well. If you look back in here, you've also got a pretty decent little creek channel that runs back through here, and it runs up against all these different marina slips, boat docks, and things like that. It goes pretty far back in here, pretty decent little creek. But if you notice, all of these docks are right up on that creek channel. So right there, all the way through here. Now, obviously, if we move the docks move up and we go, and let's move it up to like when the lake's up a little bit further, if we can get the lake up further. And you'll notice the docks are going to move back, but still those docks are very close, especially these right in here are very close to that creek channel. So those are going to be some really good docks to be fishing. And then when you get further down here, you also have the outsides of these slips are probably going to be primo areas to be looking for fish as well. And then if you look right here, it goes really close to this break wall as well. So they could collect up on that break wall as well. So lots of good stuff there to take a look at. Definitely something you want to just go scan around, see if you can find anything there. You never know, but that definitely would be one of the prime places so far that I've seen so far on this breakdown. All right, so let's keep moving on. We're going to move this back. Now we're back to 2014, and the next spot that I saw was really right over here. This is more of an offshore spot, I would say, especially once the lake comes up. We'll have to look at the lake levels and on the next video, and I'll let you know where it's at today. But I'd imagine it's low just like everything else. But right here, a really good little point here. It's coming off the main channel, right? So here's your main river channel. And it's in just a nice little point that sets up really well off of that channel. So definitely a good place to look. And if you look at it, there's also some pretty good rock there. So there's a little transition area that's going on from up here where it's kind of sandy, and then it all becomes rocky right in here. Well, right in that area where it becomes rocky is where they would more than likely collect. So you definitely want to go check that out. Now moving down here, we get past all of these docks and things. I didn't see too much in here. This is kind of funny here. This dock's like out in its own little land. I'm not sure what it's doing out there, but it's definitely out there. There's also something right here, and I didn't catch this the first time, but definitely something that you want to go take a look at. In fact, why don't we go ahead and mark that, because I don't know how I missed that time, but there's a pretty good little pipe there. And I don't know if you guys have ever fished around those pipes, but they can be very, very effective. And let's go back. Let's actually take it back to 2013. See if we can get the water up. I'm trying to get the water up. I thought going back might be easier. Here's 2012. The water's still down quite a bit, but now that pipe's just out in the middle of the lake. And it looks like there's some buoys around it as well, or at least there were buoys around it in 2013 and 2014. So it's definitely an area you probably want to go check out. Right in there is going to be really good. Don't know how I missed that the first time, but we caught it this time. Now, also, if you look back in here, there's a little secret little section right in here where this ditch kind of comes down. It has a lot of washout right in here. And there's some really good just little rock piles and things like that, little shady areas for them to collect around. This debris, I don't know if it's still going to be there when the water's up, but you could fish around that debris if it is there. But definitely right in here looks pretty interesting. That's kind of an off the beaten path, not a place a lot of people are going to focus on. Obviously, that pipe's going to be more community area, but maybe back in here when the water's up a little bit more, they could collect right in this area, and not as many people would be focused on that. Now, the other thing to take a look at here, and I didn't mark it for you guys, but you can tell there's some pretty good ledges going on right in here. So real good ledge right here, another one right there. So that clearly there's some pretty good breaks going on right in that area. Now, obviously, if the water's down, you can't really take full advantage of it. You can fish right up against it. It's going to be a little bit deeper than these shallower banks. But when the water's up over that, those are prime areas for them to hang out around. So if we can get the water up, let's go say 2015, 2016. Hopefully it gets better between now. Here we go. 2016. That ledge that we were looking at, those pipes that we were looking at looked like they were on the land. That little rock pile that I told you looked really interesting, that looked like it was pretty much, well, it was completely dry. Well, that's completely submerged. And so that ledge is somewhere out in here, like where, if you can see my little hand, somewhere out in here. And so those are going to be really good areas to go take a look at. So just get off the bank a little bit and find where that break is and fish that break as if it was the bank line when the water was down low. So if that makes any sense, hopefully that's helping you guys out. But look where that rock pile is now compared to what we just looked at. And again, look where this ledge is right here. I'm just going to mark this ledge for you guys. So we're going to mark this little ledge right here. All right, we're going to call it a ledge. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this back to 2016, and I want to show you guys, because this thing, I think this is going to be really critical for this lake. If you're fishing this lake, I think it's going to be critical that you understand where these breaks are, because these breaks are going to hold these fish, and you could essentially literally be fishing right on top of them if you're not paying attention to it. So let's go back to 2016. We've marked that ledge now, right? So kind of know where that ledge is. And now we're going to move this up to 2016. Now that we're on 2016, that ledge that looked so obvious, and you're like, yeah, I wouldn't miss that. There's no way I could miss that. Yeah, you would definitely miss that because now that ledge is actually way out here. So pay attention to that. When you're out here fishing on this lake, pay attention to things like that, especially if the water's up. Let's see what it looks like in 2022. The water's still quite a bit up compared to where we were before. So that ledge still exists. And in fact, that ledge becomes really into play now, becomes this probably better depth. And then you've also got that rock pile there too. So some pretty cool stuff. I don't want to get stuck on that one little ledge. It's probably not even a, not even a hot spot, but just something to definitely consider when you're out here. Pay attention to those contours. If you look here, the main thing here too, why that ledge is there is because that's a major creek channel that's running right through here. So at times that marina literally is setting right in the middle of the creek channel. And then at other times it's probably moved back and it's a little bit further over here or something like that. All right, so let's keep moving up. Let's take a look at what else is in here. Now again, right, major creek channel coming through here. And so you've got the creek channel swing. So this area right in here is going to be good. You've got a ramp back in here. You've got a really good point that's right here that has some really good drops off both sides of it. That one looks awesome. Not sure what in the world I was doing right here. Can't hardly see it. Maybe if I go back a little bit further, I can see what that was that I was seeing there. But there's obviously something there. I'll take a look at it and see what it is. If not, I'll get rid of it. But there looks like there must have been a roadbed or something like that was running straight from right there, where whatever that little, if that's an old dock or whatever it is, it was running straight from here. I think you can see it right there. It's an old bridge or something. Maybe it's a pipeline. But that pipeline, I could find it going almost all the way out to here. It might actually go from that house to these houses right here, and there's a big pipeline that goes through there. If it is, that's money, and you definitely want to take a look at it. Now, the other things up in here, some real good creek channels. Again, another good ramp. You've got a ramp that's way out here as well. So that's going to be totally submerged when the water's up. If we bring that back up to 2016, let's draw that back up. Now, this whole thing looks totally different. Those pipes that were out there, everything looks different. You can kind of see now where they've got these little buoys at, and that's because that pipe's really, really close to there. There's that ramp. It actually goes way out here. These ramps go way out here. All these ramps that look like, they're junk that I'm marking, they're actually, a lot of them, when the water's actually up, they're really come into play. They're really good cover to fish around. You've got some really good creek swings here, channel swings going on right in here around these docks. So again, you've got some pretty good ledges, just like we were talking about earlier. Pay attention to those ledges. And then you've just got some different channels that are around here. Inside these channels, though, you do have a couple different areas where you've got just some boulders that kind of built up. So if you look over here, you've got some down in here, some really big boulders that are going to create some shade. You got a really good ledge back in here by these docks. Obviously, with the docks going to pull back, but just pay attention to where that ledge is. Again, you've got rocks in here as well. Some real good boulders down in there. And then over here, just a collection of them right over here close to this dock. So some cool stuff back in here, some cool channels. You got some cool ramps back in there too that you can fish once the water's up. Some really good stuff going on right in there. Let's go ahead and pull back out. Let's keep moving down here. Now we're going to come back out. We're in Long Hollow right now, so that's what we were talking about just a minute ago, right here. Still have a lot of lake left to go. This lake is really cool. Can't wait to get down there and fish it. Right here, we've got another one of those ledges. The reason why you can really tell these are ledges is pay attention to the shade. The shade gives it away. The shade says, oh, wait, there's something pretty significant here. So you've got a really good ledge here. And I really like this one too, again, because it's coming off this channel and swinging out here, and you've got a really good ledge for them to just hang out on. Some real good stuff. I didn't go up here in this pocket. Let's go back up here and talk about this. This, again, this is where the good rock starts, right? It's not up on the bank. It's a little bit further out. So check out that right in there. And then you've also got some boulder type stuff that's back in here that you can take a look at. And this obviously is a little creek as well. I had to kind of limit myself to what creek channels I actually marked for you guys because I didn't want to get too many tracks on here. If I get too many tracks, Hummingbird doesn't like it. But I did mark all the primary creek channels that I think are going to be really good for you. But that is one that I didn't mark that definitely could be a one to go check out. So we talked about those ledges. We've got that big one here that we talked about. It continues over here, and really this is just that creek channel carving out that whole side. So these are going to be really good spots to look, real good points and ledges to look at all in here as well. We've got boat ramps down in here to take a look at. Again, when the water's up, all this stuff becomes really in play. We've got some good ramps here. Got another pretty decent little ditch that goes back in here. And notice there's a nice little ledge over here. If I zoom in here, you'll see a little bit better. But a really good little ledge here. This isn't really, I don't know if this is a creek or what it is. Doesn't really look like a creek, but a pretty good little carve out that's happening right through here. So definitely a good spot to look. Let's pull this back. Let's look at this ledge real quick. And we'll get to this island. And then we're going to pull it up again, pull the water up, and go look at everything we just looked at. So out here, this point, I mean, obviously a really good point. Fall time, it's almost fall time of the year now. It's September now that I'm doing this video. And this would be a really good point that I would focus on, see what I could find here. There's probably more than likely a little saddle here with this point being here, or with this island being here. So this point's going to be good. The saddle area is going to be good. And then also maybe even getting out around this island, seeing what you can find. It appears that there's a really good ledge right here off the edge of this island because of this creek channel that's right here, or this river channel. So that's going to be a really good drop off this side of the island. So definitely a good spot to take a look at. All right, so we saw all that stuff, right? We saw the ledges and the ramps and things like that, all that stuff that looked to be out of the water. Let's move this up to 2016 again, or let's just go all the way to current day, 2022. So if we were to go out there right now, this says the last image was July of 2022. If we look at that, those ledges that we were talking about that looked really obvious, they're just a little bit further out. So these are all great offshore fishing spots to go take a look at. That rock, that pipe, all that stuff, these points out here, those ledges, this still kind of stayed the same. So you got some pretty decent depth that's out here. But a lot of that stuff that we looked at is all submerged, and it's all going to be great places to go and try to locate some fish. So let's keep moving on. I'm going to pull this back to 2014 again so we get some really good image when the lake was down. And what we're going to do is we're going to move on up here. Sorry, I went to 2013 by accident. 2013 might actually give me a better image on this side. Pretty decent little point here. You may want to go check out this point, especially with it, again, being on this creek channel or river channel. I keep saying creek channel because I'm used to fishing around creeks. We don't have any huge river channels here that I get to fish, so my apologies for the lingo. But we got a big river channel here, and we got a huge swing going on right here. So this whole bank line is going to be a productive bank line to go take a look at. But anytime you can find any points on that swing, those are going to be good points to look at. So real good point here to go take a look at, and a really good point here to go take a look at. Now, when you're here on this point, pull off and go just a little bit further in, and there's some really good boulders right here that look like, they could be holding 2, 3, 4, 5 fish. You never know, but a really good spot to go take a look at. So we're going to go up Devil's Hollow here and see what else we can find in here. There's some pretty good little ditches and things like that. Nothing really spectacular that I could point out to you guys, but there is a decent little creek channel that runs all the way back through here. And if you can get the water up high enough and get back in here, you've got some really good brush that you can flip around and stuff like that. And then you got some rock that just kind of outlines right here off the edge of this point. So if we can get the water up high enough, I don't know if it's high enough in 2016. Let's see if it was. That may, here's 2017. That's definitely in play in 2017. So definitely a spot to look at. That creek channel, definitely a good area. Right in here is going to be a good area to look as well. You know, anywhere you can get those swings, those turns, those bends, those are going to be good areas to try to locate the fish. All right, so let's move this back again. 2014. We're coming out of Devil's Hollow. Didn't see too much back in here to really mark for you. So let's spin out and let's go up. And now we're going to go up in here to Mossy Hollow. So in Mossy Hollow, go up here again. Don't ignore these points. With these points being on the river channel swing, they're going to be productive points. Maybe not all times a year, but at some point in the year, they're going to be a productive point. So then we're also going to move back in here into Mossy Hollow. Not a lot back in here, but just one thing I wanted to show you. Pretty good little ditch going on in here with some vegetation of some sort. I'm not sure what it is, stick-ups or something like that. And then some debris. Looks like maybe a big rock or something like that, but it's got a pretty big shadow on it. So definitely be worthy of going back in there and checking it out. Again, pull that up to 2016. Or 2017. I think 2017 looked really good just a minute ago. 2017 looks really good. That ditch and that debris that's out there, it's out in the middle. You're not going to think to go look out there. So definitely go look out there and see what you can find out there. All right. So sorry to keep moving back and forth, but I definitely want to show you the comparison. So let's keep moving down. Again, if you just wanted to beat the bank and you just said, you know what, I don't even want to go look for stuff. I just want to beat the bank all day, run it with crankbaits and just fire away and go 90 to nothing. Maybe you're one of those fishermen. It's like almost like you're on crack or something. You just want to just go, 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 go. Well, if you wanted to do that, you literally could start right here at this point and just power fish all the way down this whole entire side. It would take you forever and go to that point. Maybe you can go to the edge of that point right there, the edge of the island, turn around and just do it again. And I guarantee you would not get skunked. Just go out there, put on a crankbait and go to town, and I guarantee you will not get skunked if you just run just that swing. All right, so somebody's going to do it too. It's going to be interesting to see what they get. All right, so let's keep moving on. Now we're going to get up here into Cottonwood Hollows. So we're in Cottonwood Hollows, and just a couple things here. There's some rock here off this point that looks really interesting. I like how this point sets up. You hear us talk a lot about, hey, pay attention to the secondary points. The secondary points can be really good staging areas. That is a great secondary point right there. The way it comes in and then makes that split. A lot of times if you can get those coves or those, when you go back into them and the first thing you see is a point and then it splits, for whatever reason, that point right there is a great staging area. Not for whatever reason, you know why, but that point right there is a great staging area for them to stop at before they decide to whether they go right or whether they go left. So a lot of times, if you can pull into an area like this and the first thing you see is a point, go fish that point for sure. Those are usually pretty good areas. So you got some additional rock that's back in there, nothing too special. But again, it's one of those little transition areas where there's not a lot going on here. And then all of a sudden you have a really good little rock pile here, probably due to some type of little creek channel or ditch. Again, you can see a nice little ditch going through here, but a pretty good little creek channel swinging around in there as well. If you guys want to see that up in 2016, just that little area, or 2017, let's pull that up and just show it to you guys real quick. Again, more offshore stuff, right? So a lot of this stuff that we're pointing out is not necessarily right up on the bank. You're going to have to get off the bank a little bit, but I'm telling you, it's going to be productive areas for sure to go and try to locate something. All right, so I'm going to move this back again, 2014. And we're going to keep on going. So moving on down this bank line, obviously all this rock stuff looks good, but you've got to kind of try to figure out, okay, what if all of it looks good? Let's try to just pick out certain areas. So obviously those points are going to be key areas. This ramp that comes over here off of this point, if you can get the water up high enough, that ramp's right on the edge of a ledge as well. So maybe right in here, And then the other thing, you may not be able to see it much, is that there's a transition area going right here on this point. So if I zoom in, you'll be able to see a little bit better. Notice this is a little bit different than this. This is a lot different. This, if I took a picture of this and I just set it beside this, you'd say, yeah, those are two totally different areas. Well, there's a transition area somewhere in here off this point, probably right in here, really close to where that ramp is. So that, again, is going to be a good spot. And then last but not least, you've got the river channel coming up here, and it's starting that swing right there on that point. So going to be a good spot. Let's keep moving on here. We're going to go in here to Hatter Cove. And when we get in here, there's a bunch of different ramps. I couldn't just mark them all for you. I'd be marking ramps all day long, trying to mark just the good ones, the bigger ones and things like that. But you could fish around all these little concrete slabs and things like that are out there. There's just a billion of them on this lake. But if we move in here, the thing I liked in here was right here. There's a nice little rock pile right here, little isolated rock pile. Love where it sets up. It's kind of off a little secondary point. It itself could be its own little secondary point, kind of poke it out here into the creek channel. We're going to look at this here in a second, 2617, and you're going to see why I really liked that. We've also got some debris down in here as well, and some additional rock back in here that's just different, right? It's different than everything else around here. Good little creek channel, and then some really heavy rock just right in there. So love that spot. Let's pull this up, especially that rock pile. I get all excited when I find rock piles that are just off the bank like that, that I know are going to have some pretty good depth on them. And right here, the docks are all back. The creek channel is all full. That rock we talked about earlier is totally submerged, that debris that was over there. And then this rock pile here is money, 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 money. So definitely take a look at that rock pile there. All right. Let's go up to 2022. Let's see if that rock pile, that rock pile is still available to you. So you're good to go. Let's go back to 2014 and 2013 where we were on our imaging, and let's keep moving on down here. Next thing we're going to find really is this ramp. You saw just a second ago when the water is up, this ramp's totally submerged. That's going to be a good spot. A lot of times you can find some rock around those ramps. And then the end of the ramp has a lot of washout as well that really can be some really good places to find some fish. As we move further down here, we're just going to point out some more ramps, just another ramp there, another one right here, another one right here, just all these submerged ramps. Other than that, I didn't see much in that area. So you can see here now we've made the turn, and now we're going to go in here. We're going to look at some interesting stuff that's over here. Now, a lot of times, you hear me talk about focusing on the outside edge. When it makes that big turn, focus on the outside edge. I say that all the time, right? Well, there are times when you want to go to the inside, because the inside a lot of times is a huge flat. And sometimes they'll actually collect up in here depending on the seasons and stuff like that. So these are areas you don't always just want to bypass. If they're up in the shallows and stuff like that and not out in the deep bluff walls and stuff like that, come up here and see if you can find anything up here, because you may be surprised what you can find on the inside of the turn as opposed to the outside. So first thing I want to show you here, got a pretty good little ditch, little creek channel going on here. You could fish around. Now up in here, we've got all these little ditches. I'm going to call them ditches. You can call them gouges or whatever you want to call them, but nice little ditches. Well, these fish love to collect in these little holes like this that are out here on these big, giant, flat areas. That one's not as much of a flat. It's a nice little point. It is a flat, but it's not as huge as this one we're going to look at. Got a ramp here, got some rocks back in here as well. If you look right around in here where this little swing creek channel kind of comes through here, there's some pretty good rock in just certain areas. So you can go check that out. Now, the next thing would be over here on this giant, giant flat that we have out here. This one looks like it could be productive. Notice all these little ditches that are here. So I marked all the little ditches for you guys. When you're out here fishing, stay out here and fish around these little deep holes, anywhere you can find these little ditches and stuff like that. I don't know for sure if that's going to be productive. Now, I'd love to hear some of the comments from this lake breakdown, especially with you guys that have been out there. But are these ditches productive? Have you gone up there and tried them? I'd imagine that someone has found out that, yes, they can definitely be productive at certain times of the year. So anyways, all those little ditches, I pointed all those out for you. Let's keep moving on and let's swing around here. We've got about 5 more minutes of the video left, so let's see how far we can get. And if I find a good spot to stop, I'll stop in that area. But let's keep moving for now. So right up in here again, another nice little ramp that comes down off of a really good point here. So you definitely want to look at that. You got some pretty good rock. I didn't see much back in here, but there is some pretty good rock right here. If you look right off the edge here, it becomes different. It's not that kind of rock. It's like more like a ledge or something going on right in here. So I would definitely focus right in there on that spot as well. And then if we move on down, we're going to get into Ramp City for a second. So these will be quick and easy to go over for sure. But we got a ramp here. We've got some interesting stuff back in here. So if you can get back in this pocket, one, you've got a pretty good ledge right here with some cover on it as well. I probably should even mark that for you guys. That could be a productive little area. But then back in here, you got some stairs that go back here, which are interesting. Some more stairs back in here. I've actually, for whatever reason, when I can find stairs, I typically catch fish on them. I don't know why they like the stairs so much, but stairs are just a really good place to go and find fish. You can't find too many of them in too many lakes, but when you do find them, they're usually productive. So what I'm doing here is I'm moving this back up to 2017 for us so we can look and see where those stairs are. And you can see here, they're pretty far out there in the middle. That ledge that we were looking at is way out here. So again, and I can't stress it enough on this lake, you've got to pay attention to your contours because there are all kinds of ledges and offshore stuff that you can take a look at in this lake. And luckily for us, in 2014, the lake got low enough to where it exposed a lot of those areas. So here's Ramp City. There's a few more here, but I marked the big ones. So lots of different ramps that you could fish around. Again, if you got on that pattern, I mean, you could just go to town on this lake because there's so many different ramps that you could fish. You've also got a little point right here, and this is always a good area. Anytime you get these points that start to make a little, if they make a big hook, that's awesome. But this one's making a little bit of a hook. But anyways, it's right here again, river channel. Really close to the river channel. I'm not sure if this is a river channel swing. It may swing more over towards this side. But either way, there's some pretty good stuff right in that area that you could take a look at right there off of that point. So there's another good point right here too. If you look out here, you kind of follow those pipes down. Some pretty good rock right off the edge of this point. So it's definitely changing right in here for sure. Same type of thing right in here. You've got some rock in this area, a little concrete slab or debris that was here. This is a nice little ditch area right in here. And again, we'll pull the water up, we'll look at it, but you got a nice little ditch in there. You've got some really good rocky areas back in here as well, right off the edge of this point. Over here, it's like this little deep section. You can see this being productive. You got some cover down in there, some really good deep area right in there. You got some more rock over in here as well, right off the edge of this point, off this flat or whatever it is that we're looking at. And then back in here, you've got some pretty good rock too, some more ledges and things like that over here, and the same thing over here. So this whole area in here definitely looks like it could be a good area to go. And you would actually be fishing offshore. If you were out here fishing this area, you'd be offshore. And I say that because if we pull the water up, you'll see what I'm talking about. All that rock and stuff that we were talking about is pretty far off the bank, but you're not in that deep of water. All right, so let's go back to 2014. Let's keep moving on down here. We talked about the rock there. Here's some more ditches that you could take a look at. So if you're on that ditch pattern, here's some really good ditches right in here with some pretty good cover in them as well. You've also got some rock out here as well. And let's go ahead and we're going to stop at Captain Pete's boathouse because that just seems like an area that I can remember to start the next video. So we'll stop here. So let's go in and let's get behind this little boathouse here. Let's just talk about some things that we see in here. Now this looks interesting. See these big boulders? There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8 big boulders right in here that you can take a look at. So go look at that and then pay attention again to your contours and find this ledge and fish around this ledge. There's a good ditch back in there too that you can take a look at. And then if you're fishing around the ledge, it's going to pull you right back off to this point. Hopefully this marina is out of the way. We'll pull it up to 2022 and see, but that could be a really good point to be fishing around. All this stuff in here, if these are concrete, which they look like they are, if they get submerged, these can be good areas to fish around as well. Let's pull this up to 2022. Yeah, you can't see that point. That point's somewhere right in here. So depending on if Captain Pete gets mad at you or not, If you can get over here and get up inside of here, that point's going to be right in there. Again, you got a point underneath that marina. That rock's back in there too. So just a totally different image than what we were looking at. So let's go ahead and stop here at Captain Pete's Boathouse. I haven't even talked about it on this whole video. I've been talking to you for almost 30 minutes and haven't even mentioned it, but you can go out to our website, simplisticfishing.com, and you can get all of these waypoints that we're talking about today on an SD card, so you can plug them right into your graph, import them in, and have them so when you're out there fishing, you can really focus on different patterns. So make sure to go check out our website. We've got over 70 lakes out there now, and we continue to add more all across the state of Texas. Simplisticfishing.com. Go check it out. I promise you, man, it will change the way you fish. So that is going to wrap us up for today. When I come back next time, we'll be talking about Lake Travis again. We'll start here at Captain Pete's Boathouse, and we'll continue to work our way up the lake and see what we can uncover. Till next time, guys, hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.